Welcome to the Cleveland Heights University Heights candidate for 2017. We'll see how my voice goes tonight. It's getting interesting. I would like to thank all of you for making a concerted effort to become fully informed voters for this local election. Local government has a major and direct impact on our day-to-day lives, but unfortunately local elections consistently have the lowest voter turnout. And this is a shame. Local politics do matter. This forum is presented with the partnership of the League of Women Voters and Future Heights. The League of Women Voters, a truly nonpartisan political organization, is recognized for its impartiality and respected role promoting informed and active participation in government and advocating for good government policies. The League is valued by both voters and by candidates and elected officials because it insists upon and makes possible the fair exchange and expression of views upon which democracy depends. The work that the League does is made possible by member dues and donations and the dedication of League volunteers. If you are not a member, we encourage you to join. Membership forms can be found in the lobby or on our website, which is lwv-cuyahogaarea.org. Future Heights is a nonprofit community development corporation serving Cleveland Heights and University Heights. It is dedicated to promoting a vibrant and sustainable future for our community through communication, collaboration, engagement, and empowerment. It publishes the Heights Observer community newspaper, and there are copies of the October issue here tonight. Inserted inside this month's issue is the 2017 Voters Guide. Bonus. The work the Future Heights does is made possible by donations, again from the community. We encourage you to become a member to support community building efforts in the two cities. Membership brochures are available in the lobby. Or for more information at futureheights.org or by calling their phone number, 216-320-1423. I will give that to you again later. We thank the City of Cleveland Heights for this excellent space and for recording tonight's event. If you have not yet picked up your voter's guide, they are available in the lobby along with the Heights Observer October issue and also vote by mail applications. These items are also available at the libraries and other public spaces throughout Cleveland Heights and University Heights. So tell your neighbors, tell your friends. I would like to take a moment to point out that you will find an expanded voter's guide with additional questions and responses at our Heights chapter website, which is on the chuh.net site. When you go to the League link within the chuh.net site. There are also links to the guide from the League Cuyahoga Area, the Heights Library, and the Heights Observer websites. An audio recording of tonight's forum, compliments of the City of Cleveland Heights for the Cleveland Heights portion and the school board, and compliments of the League of Women Voters for the University Heights portion, will be available either on the Cleveland Heights channel for the Cleveland Heights portions or on the League of Women Voters YouTube channel, again at lwv-cuyahogaarea.org. Those will be out in a few days. For tonight's forum, we have an extraordinarily large slate of candidates. We are most pleased that voters will have a good range of choices this year. However, this presents time challenges for this evening. To manage this, we plan to extend this forum about 1/2 hour longer than in the past, and candidates will have shorter time limits for opening and closing statements. We regret this limitation, but if you feel you need more information, we encourage you to visit the candidates' internet resources, which can be found in the Voter's Guide and the Heights Observer. Some rules for tonight's forum. We ask the candidates and their supporters to refrain from wearing partisan items such as campaign buttons inside this room. Campaign materials may be placed on the literature table outside in the lobby. This is a forum to hear and question the candidates. It is not planned as a debate between opposing candidates. Each candidate must appear in person and at the time slotted for his or her race. No stand-ins are permitted. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes for an opening statement, 1 minute for a closing statement after a question and answer session. We apologize for the short time constraints on those. Time limits will be strictly enforced. Our timer will give candidates a 30 or 15-second warning and a signal when their time has ended. To keep things moving, we also ask that candidates use one of the table mics and stand at their place at the table when delivering opening and closing statements as opposed to using the podium. Only written questions will be accepted. Succinct questions should be addressed to one candidate. Other candidates will have the opportunity to answer if appropriate. Please raise your hand to receive a card in which to write your question or to turn in a card. League screeners will review submitted questions in order to avoid duplication, provide a diversity of questions, and ensure readability and appropriateness. Finally, we ask the cooperation of the audience in avoiding expressions of support or opposition to any candidate during the presentation time or answers to questions. This only takes time away from the candidates, and time is precious this evening. To quote Thomas Jefferson, "Information is the currency of democracy. May you all be made wealthy by your presence here tonight." Our first group up is University Heights mayors. We have 2 candidates seeking to be the mayor. Susan Infeld and Mr. Brennan. Michael Dillon is coming forward to the table. Our candidates draw numbers to determine the order of presentation. And for this round, Susan Infeld will go first, and Michael Dillon Brennan will go second. Yes, you may stand if you wish, or you can stay seated.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone.
Mr. Audio Man?
Thank you. That was possible to have. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight.
We can hear it, but you can't understand it. Right. It's very distorted.
Lower your voice. Center.
During this delay with my working mic, we have a dearth of questions for University Heights. Would you please, if you have questions for the mayor or for the council candidates, please raise your hand, get a card, bring in some questions. Forward is what you make of it.
So just back. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. And also, I'd like to thank the League for being the observers at all of the public meetings, or as many public meetings as they're able to attend. Okay, I'll keep going. My name is Susan Infeld. I'm the mayor of University Heights, and I'm seeking re-election in the election on November 7th. I really enjoy my job. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I did not grow up in the Cleveland area. I grew up in Chicago, moved here as an adult with my husband and our infant daughter. We are one of those medical families who came here for training and stayed. We bought our house on Tyndall Road. It's the first house we've ever lived in, and we had 2 more children. Our daughters are all grown at this point, but during that period of time while they were growing up, I worked with a large citizens group to build a new pool and playground at Purvis Park, and that group did include a couple of the candidates for council, Phil Ardo and Mary Ebner. Then I joined the city council and helped form the First Suburbs Consortium. From there, after 12 years on city council, I became mayor. I've been mayor for 8 years. I think I've done a lot of good things for the city in the past 8 years. One of the most notable recent accomplishments is the establishment of the new community park. But probably my most permanent and lasting accomplishment is straightening out the city's finances, which were in disarray when I first became mayor. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you. My name is Michael Dillon Brennan, and I'm running for mayor of University Heights. I first moved to University Heights in 1998, bought my second house here in 2005. My wife, Gina, and I made this city our home for the last 11 years. I've been an attorney over 20 years and have been involved in our community both as a founder of an educational nonprofit and as a board member of Future Heights. University Heights is a beautiful, livable community with tremendous unrealized potential. I'm running for mayor because I believe University Heights is missing too many opportunities that are right in front of us. Economic development, restoring the fire department, lowering taxes, making our streets bicycle and pedestrian friendly, and bringing a spirit of collaborative government to our city hall. We need a leader in City Hall with a vision and a plan who listens to residents and works with City Council to move us forward together. To that end, I've reached out to the members of City Council and discussed with each of them individually their ideas for the city in mind, and we found that we share a lot of common ground and interest and desire to work together. As a result, 6 of 7 members of the current City Council have endorsed me to be the next mayor, together with the fire union and local chapters of the AFL-CIO, UAW, and Stonewall Democrats. Endorsements are great, but I do need your vote. Tonight we will discuss a few things that I hope will help you decide the best way forward, and we believe that includes a change at the top. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you both. Are your microphones working now? Do we know?
Thanks.
The one is working? Oh, that's- Sorry, I wasn't able to sort my stack here. Question for Mayor Infeld, for Susan Infeld, and Mr. Brennan may also answer. There is a lot of work going on right now, a lot of discussion about the betterment of the Cedar-Taylor Merchant Association area. How can you be more supportive of working with Cleveland Heights for the betterment of the Cedar-Taylor Merchant Association?
Thank you. I already am working with the City of Cleveland Heights on the Cedar-Taylor intersection, improvements to that intersection that will happen on the University Heights side of the street. City of Cleveland Heights paid for a study that was done by an architect several years ago, about 5 years ago, I believe. And we have a copy of that study, and it is that study that I am following as I begin to make improvements to that intersection. The first improvement is to straighten out the west side of the intersection so that it actually matches, the east side of the intersection, so that it actually matches the west side of the intersection. On the east side, on the University Heights side, if you are a pedestrian on a bike or somebody pushing a stroller, you have a difficult time crossing the street because the intersection is actually wider on the University Heights side of the street. So we're going to tighten up the angle of the intersection and replace sidewalk blocks that are tilted so that it's not handicap accessible.
It's a 1 minute, I think I wanted to say it's 1 minute time on the questions, so thank you. Do you have anything to add regarding the?
Yes, I'll address that briefly. The Cedar-Taylor Development Association has asked for a number of streetscape improvements, including banners and planters and bike racks and benches and trash cans, which are all installed and have been for some time on the Cleveland Heights side of the district. For over a year, the Cedar-Taylor Development Association has been seeking University Heights to do the same thing. They've made presentations to City Hall. They have appeared before various committees, or at least applied to do so. And our City Council has voted 7-0 to budget the money necessary to do these improvements, and to date, they have not been done. As mayor, I would implement those improvements. There are other things we ought to be doing at Cedar-Taylor. Cedar-Taylor is ripe for redevelopment and new development within the district, but the Merchants Association specifically asked for these particular improvements, and I believe that they would enhance the district for the benefit of both Cleveland Heights and University Heights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are 2 questions here that I have connected, sort of. The statement that the vacancy rates, the housing vacancy rates have increased from 3.57 in 2000 to 8.37 in 2010 to 12.97 in 2015. What will you do to change this? And a related question, do you have a vision to bring young families to our city? Mr. Brennan.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, the vacancy rate is certainly troubling, and but we can turn that around a number of ways. First, we should be looking at a program to help first-time home buyers come to University Heights, and that would help us with our vacancies, and that will also, I believe, attract young families to our city. Secondly, when it comes to vacancies, we should be implementing a program similar to what South Euclid has done with respect to bringing houses that are foreclosed on up to code. If the banks are required to bring the exteriors of these houses up to code as a part of the foreclosure, or if we were to implement a foreclosure bond program in University Heights, then these would be ways of making the vacant houses more attractive as potential housing stock for young families and their buyers. These are just a few things that we could be doing, and those are things I would be looking towards as mayor. Thank you.
Susan Infeld?
Some of the vacancies that we have in our city, and this is counted in the vacancy total rate, are homes that are for sale, that are currently unoccupied. Our city, fortunately, was not as hard hit by the downturn in the housing market in 2008, 2009, as other communities probably have had a few issues with absentee homeowners. What the city is doing right now is making sure that those homes are being maintained. And as I said, if they're homes that are for sale, this isn't something that we can take away from the homeowner who are trying to sell the home themselves.
Thank you. Starting with Susan Infeld. In our current form of government of mayor and council, does the mayor have strong powers, equal powers to council, or is it mixed?
University Heights residents considered charter changes in 2009 when I was elected mayor. One of those suggested changes that was put before them was to implement a city manager form of government similar to what Cleveland Heights has. The community voted that down overwhelmingly. Our charter, as it stands, is considered a strong mayor form of government. So the mayor is responsible for managing all taxpayer dollars, service delivery, and managing all employees except for the clerk of council.
Thank you. Cool. Brennan?
Yes, thank you. Yes, we do have a strong mayor system in University Heights. The power certainly is tilted toward the mayor for purposes of being the executive branch and the administrative portion of government. Our voting population has changed significantly since 2009, but in spite of that, I'm not here to advocate rather against the strong mayor system. I would, however, advocate for greater collaboration between the mayor and city council, and that doesn't require a charter change. It requires more of a cultural change, and one where the mayor simply is open and transparent and brings city council into various issues sooner rather than later in the process of seeking solutions. Thank you.
Michael Brennan?
Yes.
Perennial position. What are your views concerning the strengths, weaknesses, and needs of the Cleveland Heights University Heights Public Schools? And how will you improve school-city relations?
Well, I, for one, am delighted that we will be having 3 new members on our school board. I know that there have been some concerns over the way that the reconstruction projects have been handled with Heights High and now with middle school. I'm delighted that we will be having 3 new members of the board for a fresh start between the city and the school board for going forward. With that, there are a few things that we do need to address. The role of education and primarily public education, public school elementary education, University Heights, has to be ongoing within our city. With that, the future of Wiley still is yet to be determined, and whether it will continue to serve as a school or some other capacity within our city. In 2 years, that's going to come up rather quickly, and there are several different ways we can go forward. Also, we should be making a commitment, and I'll do a cut out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Our school district has a lot of strengths. It's nationally known for its musical education program. It has always had a strong career development path program that is even stronger in recent years. And this is something that many noted economists say is needed for our economy, to have people who can perform all jobs. Not everybody can be a doctor and a lawyer, so that is something that the school district does very well. The weakness of the school district, frankly, is the shrinking student population. There was a baby boom led to my children. Millennials were all part of that, but there are fewer children now going to public schools. So any way to advertise the public schools to get more people using them is good. And the school district needs everyone's support. It is the public school district. It is here to serve everyone in the community. We have thriving educational choices here, but one of them is the public schools.
And one final question, starting with Susan Infeld. What will you do? What can you do to improve relations between the various ethnic and religious groups within University Heights?
I think we actually have pretty good relations between everybody who lives in our city. We are a diverse city. The last time a survey was done, we had, I believe, 30-something different second languages spoken in the home. We have wonderful recreational facilities that are used by everybody, and those are nice community assets that bring people together. We're offering programs at our recreational facilities specifically to draw people to them, and more people use them and meet other people who live on the other side of town or may go to a different school. That's all good for building community.
Yes, I would agree that relations generally are very good between the different ethnic and religious groups within University Heights. One area, though, that I do believe that we should be working on is making sure that City Hall is more sensitive to the needs of the separate industry communities within University Heights. Along with that, I think there should be a greater emphasis on making sure that we keep our streets and roads clear on the Sabbath for the observant. And I think there are more things that we can be doing with regard to outreach in that community, a little more understanding, a little more listening, a little more meeting, as opposed to other less personal ways of handling issues as they arise within our city. Thank you.
And now we have final statements, closing statements. 1 minute, and we go in reverse order for the closing statements. So go to Liv Brennan.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, Future Heights, and all of you for being here. I'd like to thank Mayor Infeld for being here as well. Appearances such as these are fundamental to good government. We have very limited time up here today. I'd like to bring to your attention that we will be having a mayoral debate on the 26th at John Carroll at the Nolan Science Center in the Donahue Auditorium at 7 p.m. So if you are here primarily to hear us, then I would encourage you to attend that event to hear more from us. In the meantime, my website is brennan4uh.com. That's the number 4 in brennan4uh.com. I also have a video at brennan4uhvideo.com. I hope you will consider me this election, and I hope that in the end, by this November 7th, that you will give me your vote. Together, we will reach new heights. Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank you. I am proud and pleased to say that I have the endorsement of our Congresswoman Marsha Fudge, our County Executive Armin Bugish, State Representative Janine Boyd, State Senator Shirley Smith, a number of area mayors, former vice mayors Jeffrey Friedman and Adele Zucker, Cleveland American Middle East Organization, Cami Allen, Black Women's Political Action Committee. I'm a graduate of Leadership Cleveland. I serve on the boards of the Iowa County Planning Commission, the Northeast Ohio Area Fire Coordinating Agency, NOACA, the Ohio Municipal Leagues, and the First Suburbs Consortium Executive Committee. I am very pleased that I have been able to introduce new city services over the past 8 years without increasing taxes. Relationships that I've built with our federal, state, and local officials have allowed our community to participate in various shared services for police and fire. And just yesterday, we cut the ribbon on our regional Heights Hillcrest Communications Center that will provide 911 dispatch services for 5 cities.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all of the questions. I'm very sorry that I didn't have time for more of them. They were good questions. If we could move on now to the University Heights Council candidates. Come on down. All 7 of you. Seated in order, hopefully. Are you seating in order? Leibowitz, Ebner, Fitzgerald, Rock, Urkel, Hardy, and Weissman. And once again, if you have questions in the audience or University Heights council candidates, please raise your hand to get a card or to turn in a card. One small point of clarification for those of you who are not up on all the geekdom of elected politics. 2 years ago, University Heights didn't have enough candidates for the seats available. That has been solved now. And so in that interim, Mr. Rock was appointed to serve a 2-year term. The rule is that if you are appointed, you can only serve up until the next election. And so the remaining 2 years of that term now has to be elected. And so Mr. Rock, John Rock and Mary Ebner are seeking the 2-year term. And one of them will be elected. And then there are 5 candidates. 4 candidates? Candidates who are seeking 3 seats. All right, perfectly clear. We hope so. 5 candidates. The University Heights City Council members receive an annual salary of $9,100. So opening statements, you have 1.5 minutes for each of your opening statements, and we will go in order of the numbers chosen. And hopefully you're seated in that order. Hannah Leibowitz. Not hopefully, yes, Hannah Leibowitz.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Hannah Leibowitz. I'm running for the 4-year term in University Heights Council. We need to feel that there's a value, a reason to not just pass through, but to live in University Heights. We will lose people and businesses because we cannot adapt to engage people and provide superior services. Council, as the governing body, needs to create this public value. But here's the problem. We haven't seen it recently. We hear talk about the need to revitalize commercial districts, to find sustainable solutions, to provide services for seniors and engage youth. But I'm the only one who suggested new uses for University Square, who's recommended that we have an economic development director, who's engaged young people at a voter registration drive, who's met with community leaders to discuss senior needs and the way that we can plan our city for inclusion. I'm the only one who's done these things. We have not seen these things from council, especially not in the campaign season, which is when they should be riled up. I'm uniquely qualified for service in the city. I'm a PhD student at Cleveland State University studying urban public policy. My focus is on local government structure. Cities are my passion. I have experience in city management, I have experience in urban planning, and I have experience in organizational capacity building. I'm a member of the fastest growing population in the city, young families. We're not currently represented on the council. My demographic, my expertise is not on the council. I would be a great asset to University Heights Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mary Bethner.
My name is Mary Yeffner, and I'm a 28-year homeowner in University Heights. Along with my husband, David, we raised our 3 daughters in University Heights. My father was a 30-year firefighter in the city of Cleveland, and my mom was a community volunteer in Cleveland Heights. I have a degree in elementary education and have been an educator for more than 30 years in the public, private, and religious schools. Additionally, I worked at Beaumont School as the Associate Director of Alumni Relations for 8 years. Prior to working in education, I served as a legislative aide to Congressman Dennis Eckert in Washington, D.C. This experience taught me important skills needed to be an effective leader, including communication, organization, and patience. Within University Heights, I have served on various committees, including the Recreation Advisory Committee, the Community Park Advisory Committee, the Parade Committee, and the Burns Park Pool Committee. Based upon my long-standing personal and professional ties to University Heights and my outside professional work, I am running for council because I feel I am best suited to identify, address, and effectuate meaningful improvements within my community. As a city councilwoman, I want to ensure that University Heights remains a great destination to live and to own a home. I believe this is best accomplished through responsible fiscal planning and providing businesses with new opportunities to open their doors in our city. Further, I hope to create more friendly family recreation programs that have been proven to be popular amongst residents of all ages. In order to do that, I also believe that preserving and maintaining green space within our city is vital. Most importantly, as elected city councilman, I look forward to increasing my interactions with the residents of University Heights.
Annalise Cox-Joe.
Hello, and thank you everyone for being here this evening. I want to specifically thank the League of Women Voters and Future Heights for making this candidates night possible. My name is Annalise Cox-Joe, and I'm seeking to serve my neighbors, the residents of University Heights. I would like to work with city council members to make the City of Beautiful Homes run efficiently, create an open communication dialogue with the residents and city council, as well as continue to sustain the community for years to come. 3 of the main issues I would focus on when elected to city council would be superior city services, neighborhood integrity, and economic engagement. As for city services, I would support police and fire for continued excellent service, training, and programs for the residents. I would also work towards continuing city maintenance of roads, public spaces, and public buildings. To keep neighborhood integrity, I would collaborate with city directors to develop solutions for abandoned or vacant homes, absentee landlords, and continue the rise of property values. With economic engagement, I would create a mutual working relationship with the city's largest employers and retailers to build a working tax base for the city programs and projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Rock.
Hi there, I'd like to thank the League and Future Heights for hosting. My name is John Rock, and I'm one of your currently serving council members up here. I was appointed nearly 2 years ago by members of council to my left when there was a vacancy 2 years ago. And so I'm running to carry on the rest of my term that goes in 2019. I've been endorsed by 5 out of 6 council members. I've been endorsed by the Fire Department Union, the AFL-CIO, the Stonewall Democrats. So I want to thank you guys for your endorsements. Professionally, I've earned 2 master's degrees from Kent State University, one in architecture, the other in business administration. I'm a licensed architect. I practice here as a licensed architect. I believe it's our role as architects to shape the environments in which we live, work, and play, and that is what gave me the encouragement to run on city council and get involved in the city far before being on council. In fact, in 2012, I was appointed by Mayor Municipal to be a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals, a steering committee member for the updated zoning code and further master plan. Just a couple of issues that I see as improvements for our city. We need to improve our public safety, which I'm sure we'll touch on more later. lower our rate of income tax, improve our home values in the city, and make it easier for businesses and residents to do work in the city. I hear a lot of complaints that these things need to be done, and I'm prepared to work with council to implement those.
Thank you, Mr. Rock. Phil Urban.
Hi, Phil Ertl. My theme this year when I'm running for council is less talk, more done. Born and raised in University Heights, third generation. My children are fourth generation. I'm a graduate of JZU and Heights High Schools, barely. I'm an 11-year University Heights Council veteran. I initially got on council by co-chairing a grassroots citizens group that built a purpose pool and park with Sue Infeld. And we accomplished that project, and we were appointed to council thereafter, shortly thereafter. As councilman over the years, I built the second pool, the second park, started University Heights paramedic service, balanced the city budget 8 consecutive years. Outside of being a councilman, I chaired the University Heights Memorial Day Parade for 10 years. Made a lot of great friends doing that. I actually rode my bike in the first University Heights Memorial Day Parade. I was University Heights Citizen of the Year for putting together the Pool and Park. I'm on the board of directors of the Bellflower Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse. I'm with the National Family Justice Alliance, and I've received numerous awards for doing more and talking less.
Thank you, Mr. Urban. Susan Party.
Thank you, and good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and Future Heights for once again sponsoring this forum. For those of you who don't know me, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've lived in University Heights for 31 years. I've been married to Eric for 37 years. I have 3 daughters, all Heights High School graduates. I've worked for the Cleveland Heights University Heights Schools since 2001. I manage federal and state funds for both our public and all the non-public schools in our community. I handle compliance and regulations and develop projects and write grants when I have time. The last grant I wrote was awarded this fall for $850,000 for 5 years for the high school. I'm involved in activities and organizations both locally and nationally. Locally, I am the founding president of the Fund for the Future of Heights Libraries, developed to support the health of our library system into the future. Nationally, I'm a board member of the Grant Professional Certification Institute. For the last 4 years, I have chaired Council's Finance Committee, where the budget was carefully reviewed and finalized in a timely fashion. I have increased and actively included citizen members of the Financial Advisory Committee so that the city can benefit from their expertise. I've also been the vice mayor for the last 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Party. Mark Weisman.
You know, it just occurred to me that I could actually just say I agree with everything everybody said and dispense with this. Good evening, everybody. Mark Weisman. I'm a lawyer. I became an attorney so I can make a difference in this world, and I'm blessed to have a job on City Council where I can actually do that. In 1998, I was on the Charter Review Committee along with the Vice Mayor and some other folks. And in 2003, I was able to switch my day job to actually trying to make a difference. I started out representing people in foreclosure. I designed and ran the foreclosure prevention program in Cuyahoga County as its original director in 2006. Went to work for the Attorney General after that. I was also appointed to the Federal Reserve Board's Consumer Advisory Council in Washington, D.C. And I got to spend a couple of years going to D.C. every month to meet with the Federal Reserve governors and talk to them about consumer law and what they've been doing. In 2013, I was like Mr. Rock, was appointed to council because there was a vacancy, so I had at that point the benefit of having the council members pick me. I was elected in 2013. And I view my job as very simple, just to make the best decisions for the city with the best data that is available, and to take as long as it needs and look at all all the data so we can make the right decision. Hopefully you'll keep me on council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. Given the number of candidates and the short length of time, and I'd like to give everybody the opportunity to answer a question, because if I try to skip people, they jump in anyway. So I will go down the road, advancing by one each time. If you don't feel obliged to take the whole minute, if you don't have a minute's worth of words to say, if you don't have an answer, you're free to skip, so we can try to get as much information out here as we can. I think the most pressing question, and we'll start with you, for anyone who's been attending city council meetings, it is fairly clear that there is a disagreement about the balance of power between council and mayor. What is your view on what that balance should be and what council can be doing or should be doing in terms of their responsibilities?
So first of all, that balance of power is very clear from the city charter. If anyone has reviewed the city charter, has looked through the city charter, there are a lot of expectations for council. There are a lot of expectations for the mayor. The mayor is predominantly the executive administrative wing, and council is the legislative wing. That means that council makes the laws and decides how to spend the money. If there are issues, council needs to change laws. Council needs to use their legislative power to deal with issues and allow the executive and the administrative to do their job. But what I've seen is a lack of collaboration, not just between council and mayor, which is a big issue, but even within the administrative staff. Because there are a lot of really great public servants in our city, really great people who are really have incredible expertise, incredibly accomplished in their field. And I find that they're very often ignored, and their expertise is ignored, and the effort that they put into legislation and to assisting our city council is ignored. And that's where I would start, working with the people who are in the jobs, who know how to do the jobs. Thank you.
Having attended many council meetings, that's part of the reason why I chose to run for city council. I'm somebody who likes to build consensus and get the job done. I've been involved in the pool and the park and universities, and they have all been completed and done. I find right now that there is no collaboration, and I will work to being collaborative. I'll put aside differences and let's do what's right for the city of University Heights.
I believe there's a way to create an open dialogue so we can take what the residents of University Heights want, bring it, and work with the mayor to make sure that everyone is happy and everything needs to get done the way it should. And I think there's a way to do that and balance the power at the same time. Thank you.
I can tell you in the last couple of years of serving on council, we have been quite collaborative within the council, oftentimes going 7-0 on many issues. Our councils work collaboratively in committee. We share very good ideas. I would say the council that we currently have is the most diverse we've had in terms of makeup of ethnicity and gender. And we do need to work closer and more collaboratively with the administration. However, sometimes that is very difficult to do. I was encouraged to do a few projects in the city by the administration. I worked very hard with other council members to implement some of these things, to fund some of these projects, but then we found red tape. So I understand there is a balance of power. It is also our duty to be a fiduciary oversight for the administration and provide that as well.
It's sad. It's a big problem. It's agendas, it's personalities, it's all the above, and it's all about the ability to compromise and collaborate. The word we're using, but it's difficult to do in certain circumstances. I've worked on a lot of committees over the years, and it's difficult. It needs to be attempted with more vigor, and if it isn't, there will be a big change in 4 years.
Thank you. We do have a strong mayor form of government, but the council is a group of elected officials also. And as was mentioned by my colleague, we have an incredibly diverse, talented group of people who are passionate about the city, rather than wanting to sit back and rubber stamp approving legislation. This particular council has done a lot of questioning There is nothing the council has not approved that the mayor has put before us. Virtually nothing. But council makes sure it knows what is being voted upon. These are people that I would want to have representing me. I'm proud of our council. We look and scrutinize and ask questions because we don't just give our votes away. We think about what is being put before us. Sometimes that's not appreciated. We do have a collaborative council, and we look forward to working with the collaborative administration because that will benefit the city significantly.
You know, it's funny, I don't think there's a disagreement as to the balance of power in the city. I think the charter reads very clear. I think the charter spells it out, and we all respect that. I think council takes our job very seriously, and we ask a lot of questions, and we look for a lot of data, and we haven't always agreed on things, but if you put 8 elected officials in the room anywhere, they're not all going to agree on things. The question is, what's the information and what's the best decision for the city? And that's really, I think, what we're looking for. I'm interested that that's how it looks, but it seems to me like like everything is working as it should.
Thank you. And next question, starting with Mary Ebner. There are a couple of business development opportunities. One is University Square, and the other is Cedar Taylor. Do you have ideas on either of those areas? Do you see hope for them? What do you think about those areas?
Well, right now, the University Square has got a, sorry about that. Right now, University Square has bondholders, and they will decide on what will happen with the city, with that piece of property. Target owns their own building, and Macy's owns their own building. The other tenants had a 10-year lease, and after the 10-year lease, they decided to leave. So it's up to the bondholders. There are some things on the website with some possible ideas of what will happen. Certainly, any kind of development is welcomed into the city. Anytime you can bring in any local business, like we have Swenson's coming in, which is an Akron institution, I'm thrilled to have somebody like that come into our city. They're not going anywhere. They are going to stay for the long haul, and that's what kind of development I want to see in the city.
I think this is where the city has one of their greatest opportunities to attract new businesses. I think everyone might agree that we would be open to anyone that might come and like to own a business there, especially for the long term, longer than 10 years. And I think it's a really good opportunity that could be discussed.
So I would say this is probably one of my strong suits. I love development. I'm an architect. This is what I do for a living. I would love to see some new developments, Cedar Taylor and University Square. In fact, we started the ball rolling in Cedar Taylor. We have to get developers excited about the area. And so what we did was we tried to create some jazz pizzazz there by doing streetscape projects just to get people excited about what this corner could be. This could be mixed-use development. University Square, same thing. We could do mixed-use there. The city's got to get out of the way, though, when it comes to the developers and when they come in. We have to work collaboratively with them, but we can't put up red tape when it comes to building permits, etc. We want to make sure that we actually do smart development this time around, as opposed to what we left with a few years ago. That's why we got to have an architect on council.
University Square is a problem. It is a problem that it's owned by private enterprise, and they're doing a very bad job. The city's been working with them, trying to sort things out and make it work. It's very, very difficult, and there's nowhere near enough time here tonight to discuss that in depth. Cedar Taylor, on the other hand, is a huge opportunity. There is, it's a patchwork of lots and businesses or not, and I think it has the promise of a great, good-sized development that could complement the other 3 corners there and really bring to life a section of the city, the city's
Thank you. I would like to see us be more proactive in both attracting and maintaining the businesses that that we have. This includes University Square, University Taylor, all of our areas that include business. I would like to see the administration be significantly more proactive. There is an opportunity using the surplus that we have to peel off just a little bit of that surplus and develop economic development tools that provide incentives that would support business both coming in and staying and beautifying and becoming more consistent in things like signage that do provide to the beautification of the city. I think there's a lot more we can do to bring in business, to support existing business, and to develop. As well as that, I have asked that we reopen revising our zoning code, which will also create a process to allow us to attract business successfully. Thank you.
You know, the Cedar-Taylor intersection is a great example that businesses came to us, they gave a nice presentation, this is what we have, this is what we like. Council decided that we should budget, I think, $25,000 to $30,000, I can't remember, for those improvements. Then we sought to get a planning commission meeting for the applicant, whoever that was, to get it done, and we're still waiting sort of what happens. But I think this is the central point of this election. Do we want to, as a city, sit back and wait for, as somebody on the panel who said, the bondholders to, quote, decide what they want to do, or do we want to call them and meet with them and talk to them and say, hey, what are you considering? These are the things we'd like. These are the ways we're going to incentivize more retail. We're going to incentivize higher scale apartments. We want to take action as much as we can, and I think the more we can sit down with people and go after them and have meetings with them and talk to them, the better we'll be as a city in the future.
So I feel like I'm in a time warp because 4 years ago, many of these same city council members were asked these same questions. And that was November 2013 when they were elected back into their seats. And in December of 2013 was when University Square was sold to those private bondholders. So what I think we need is someone who takes ownership of economic development. We need an economic development director. The only reason we have excess funds is because we're not spending them on people and services that we've allocated for. We have the money to hire a economic business and development director, and we need someone with an urban planning background because not any development is good. That's how we end up with University Square. We need good development that matches the needs of the citizens, the desires of the citizens, what they want to see. If you talk to people, if you talk to businesses, they know what they want. If you talk to businesses at Cedar-Taylor like I have, the ones that are already there, they can tell you what the issues are and what they'd like to see. So if we don't have somebody who takes ownership of this, we're never going to see change.
Well, the good news, bad news, is that we only have time really for one more round of questions. And I have a number of different questions here. So what I'm going to do is give you the topics that I have here. And you may respond to one of them, or whatever question you really wish I had asked you. It's answerer's choice, and we're going to start with Mark Wiseman, because he likes going first, I think. So the general topics that I have left up here excuse me, are the crime rate, the land bank, are we doing anything with the land bank or not, the schools, the varying cultural groups within the city, or your choice.
How much time do I get to consider?
1 minute.
Let's talk about snow plowing instead. I'm going to go with what's behind door number 3. Years ago, we had to start buying salt. There was a salt shortage, so we decided only to plow certain streets and salt certain streets in the city because it would save us money, and we've continued that since then. But I think in a town that snows so much, in a town that has so many children running across the street at 7 a.m. to catch a bus, in a town that has so many people speeding to work, not me, I drive the speed limit on the way to work, but I think we need to be a little bit more proactive in understanding the needs of a community in Northeast Ohio with as much snow as we have. And I've heard from a lot of residents who really want to know why on Green Road half the street is asphalt and half the street is University Heights. And I think if we get back to salting the streets the way we used to, I think it'll be a lot safer. There's a lot of children out. It's very dark in the morning. I think that's very important as we go forward. Thank you.
Superintendent.
I would like to take creating economic development tools using some of the funds, not just economic development tools, but also spurring home ownership among young families. We heard earlier in the mayoral debate about a 12% vacant home rate. I would like to see young families in those homes. Again, we have a surplus, a substantial surplus that we use for roads and paving, which is very important. But to use that to bring in new business and maintain business, to use that to perhaps rebate a little bit of the property tax to bring in young families, both improves the city, puts more families in homes, increases property taxes, with new business increases income taxes, provides benefit all the way around for the city. This is a long-term view to support bringing in new revenue and new families that will benefit the city into the future. Thank you.
Yes, I would just like to say that there are a lot of issues, but I think that speaking to all of you, I would just like to say that I hope when you are evaluating who you might vote for, that you vote for people that have a track record of having gotten things done. Anybody can say they wish to do something or other, and that's great, but you need somebody that knows how to get it done and has a track record of getting it done. There are people, very qualified people on sitting here today that can do that for you. And I just hope that you take a good look at each of us and choose wisely.
I'll address the first issue, safety and crime, and some of the issues that I brought up earlier just sort of go hand in hand. I'm going to start with safety. We had a 43% increase in crime over the last couple of years, and I attribute that to a couple of things. We've had some officers retire over the last few years. We need to rehire. We need to hire more officers in neighborhood policing. We've had an increase in rentals over the last few years. I attribute that to the economy that was failing a few years ago. People were underwater and couldn't sell their homes, so they rented it out. So we have a lot of increase in rentals. What I'd like to do, though, is create a first-time home buyer program, as Mr. Brennan addressed earlier, to turn over some of these vacant homes and create a tax abatement program that will turn it over and get new families in the city. I also want to address the fire department who have had cuts in their training. I want to make sure that when seconds count, they have access to the best training, the best equipment as possible, and I've been fighting for that ever since we've heard these complaints.
I would also like to address the issue of crime and safety within the city. I think it's very important that we make sure that all of our workers are up to date and are allowed to go to the trainings and everything that they wish to go and accomplish. And that way, they also have the up-to-date equipment and they know how to use it properly. So if they're ever in a situation that they need to, they are able to do that. I would also like to address the problem of rentals within the city. I think it's not necessarily an issue that there are rentals, but that agreements with rental agreements aren't being enforced. And I think that would also help with abandoned houses, people that want to rent out their houses, that we make sure that there are things in place so that they can indeed be enforced. Thank you.
I just want to start by saying that I think University Heights is the best city to live in. Sorry, Cleveland Heights. I grew up there, but University Heights is wonderful. I chose to be there for 28 years. I chose to be there because of our safety forces. I have had the University Heights Fire Department at my house for fire incidences, illness, and severe situations. Every time they have been there, they have been nothing but professional and phenomenal. And that's why I live there, because they are at my home in 3 minutes. My alarm goes off, they are there. So kudos to them, kudos to the city of University Heights. It's a great city to live in.
So first of all, I'd like to say that it's pretty clear that a lot of these issues overlay on top of each other. Actually, there was an excellent research article from the Poverty Center here that indicated that vacancy and crime rates and a lot of these issues fall on top of each other. They end up creating more systemic problems. If we want to really address these issues, We need to bring down the county and state resources to our city. We don't have anybody that does that. We don't have anybody that encourages that. If a person goes to the city and says, I am facing foreclosure, what can I do? The only thing the city can do is recommend that they reach out to the county and state. We're not advocating for our people. We're not bringing more people together to discuss these issues. We're not talking to residents and hearing what they suggest. We need to bring things down from the state and county and bring the residents up. There's so many resources for these issues out there. There really are. And we need to be an advocate for our city. We need to be at the table at the county and state level advocating for these resources not to be cut as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we're just in the nick of time, apparently. Closing statements. I'm starting again with Mr. Wiseman. 1 minute.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters. Thank you everybody for coming. If you're not from University Heights, thank you for sitting through this. And feel free to move to University Heights. It's a great place. I've spent the last 15 years working with the county government, the state government, our city government, with the federal government, discussing policy issues and trying to figure out a way to come up with solutions with people of varying degrees and interest at the table. And throughout all those experiences, it has been beneficial to me to strip away personalities, strip away irrelevant points and irrelevant facts, and focus on what the problem is and what the best solution is. And that's what I have done on council for the last 5 years. I hope that the University Heights people in the audience and watching this will give me a chance to do that for another 4 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to come tonight and listen. I've now lived in University Heights more than half of my life, and I really appreciate and value the city and the people who are so willing to come to the door when we knock on the doors when we're out during this campaign season. I have a long history and solid track record of involvement and accomplishment getting things done in our community with volunteer groups, teams, with the League of Women Voters, as a PTA leader on boards, and now on City Council. I will continue to work hard on behalf of the city, hard on council, to focus on our future. And for that, I ask for your vote for a third term. Thank you.
Hi, Phil Earl. Thanks for coming out. Let's talk more done. I'll try and get through this as quickly as I can. I don't like to hear it anymore than you do. Born and raised in University Heights. Been to private and public schools. Been on council 11 years. Been on many committees. Purpose Pulling Park with Sue Infeld. What else? Paramedic service. Balanced budgets. Memorial Day Parade is near and dear to my heart. Let's see. One of the things that doesn't normally get on a resume that I'm most proud of is that when I was 19, I was fired from my job for trying to start a union. So I guess I'll just end with that. All right. See you guys later.
Thank you, Future Heights and the League, for hosting again. What I'd like to close with is what this city really needs is vision. And architects are visionary people. We have a vision for development, we have a vision for future growth. We want to build a community, build the future for our community. What we need to do is attract and retain families into this community. And what we talked about earlier today, there's several ways that we could do that. What I also like to do is put us on a level playing field with some of our surrounding communities. Our RETA income tax, for instance, out of 279 municipalities in RETA, University Heights ranks #1. We have the highest RETA income tax rate in the state of Ohio at 2.5%. We've talked to the Finance Committee about changing the credits that we offer our residents to ease the burden, because the only way to bring people into this community is to put us on a level playing field with our next door neighbors. So that, I want to thank you guys. I have cards outside. Go to keepcouncilmanrock.com to learn more, and be sure for me to continue to serve on my term.
I would like to thank all the voters present for being here tonight. A special thank you to the League of Women Voters of Future Heights for making tonight possible. And I ask that you please do take one of my flyers on the way out if you have not already done so. And don't forget to vote for Annalise Passio on Election Day. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you to everybody for being here tonight. I just want people to know that my history in the city and what I've been involved in speaks for itself. I have a lot of vision. I first really want to thank my parents. My mom is alive, my dad is deceased. My mom is an 89-year-old resident of Cleveland Heights, and she had us live in Cleveland Heights through the changes in Cleveland Heights. It was the best education that my brothers and my sister and I had. We watched the diversity, we enveloped and enjoyed the diversity. I come from a line of people that were taught to give back. My brother was the mayor of Cleveland Heights, my father was a firefighter, and my mother was a volunteer. And we've been taught to give back, and that's what I want to do. I want to be a voice for the residents of University Heights, so thank you.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. I've heard it said that it's difficult to beat an incumbent. It shouldn't be. The burden should be on the incumbents to prove that they have governed the city well and that they have led us into the next term. But with a deteriorating University Square, more vacant properties than ever, and an over 200% increase in our poverty rate, have they done a good job? Has our city council governed our city well? I don't believe so. There's no comprehensive policy agenda, we don't actively engage people, and we don't utilize our resources wisely. Good governance is not learned on the job. The fact that someone has a position does not mean that they know how to do the job. If you'd like to see the city change, I hope you'll vote for me, Hannah Leibovitz, on November 7th. Please feel free to visit my website, hannahleibovitz.com, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, Hannah, the number 4UH, and my materials are also outside as well. I look forward to engaging every single person who wants to speak with me. I meet with everyone, I respond quickly and efficiently. Thank you.
That concludes the University Heights portion of this evening and my voice. I am thrilled to see a room. This is so different from 2 years ago. It was not a room. I am turning the podium over now to Deanna Bremer-Fisher, Executive Director of Future Heights, who will moderate the races for Cleveland Heights University Heights School Board, which is up next, and then the Cleveland Heights Municipal Judge and Cleveland Heights City Council. Also, a note, in case you have not noticed, the back side of the voter's guide includes information on the notorious issues 1 and 2. More information here than you'll get from the ads. Thanks, everybody.
Good.
So I'm going to start, so we are going to try to get us out possibly by 9:45, I'm thinking at this point. I'm Deanna Bremer-Fisher, I'm the Executive Director of Future Heights, and this forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters and by Future Heights. And so because of that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the two organizations. The League of Women Voters, a uniquely nonpartisan political organization, is recognized for its impartiality and respected role promoting informed and active participation in government and advocating for good government policies. The League is valued by both voters and by candidates and elected officials because it insists upon and makes possible the fair exchange and expression of views upon which democracy depends. The work that the League does is made possible by member dues and donations and the dedication of League volunteers. And if you're not a member, we encourage you to join. Membership forms can be found in the lobby or at the League's website, lwvcuyahogaarea.org. And Future Heights is a nonprofit community development corporation serving Cleveland Heights and University Heights. It's dedicated to promoting a vibrant and sustainable future for our community through communication, collaboration, engagement, and empowerment. It publishes the Heights Observer community newspaper, and there are copies of the October issue in the lobby today. And inserted inside this month's issue is the 2017 Voters Guide that Future Heights and League of Women Voters compiled. It looks like this, and I hope that you all pick one up. The work of Future Heights is also made possible by donations from the community, so we encourage you to become a member of Future Heights as well to support our community building efforts in our two cities. Membership brochures are also available in the lobby, and you can also find more information at our website, which is futureheights.org. If you've not picked up the Voter's Guide, please do so. They're available in the lobby and in other public places throughout the cities. And I'd like to also point out that there's an expanded version of the guide online. So we can't fit everything in the printed guide. There are more questions and more information online, both at the League's website, vote411.org, and at heightsobserver.org. So please take a look at those. And tonight we're very thankful to have this excellent space for our community forum, and it looks like we've got a packed house. So we'd like to thank the City of Cleveland Heights for making this space available, and they also for video recording this portion of tonight's program. The City of Cleveland Heights is videotaping the Cleveland Heights portions, and they will broadcast it on their YouTube channel and on their cable access channel. Both of those will begin on October 23rd, and they are planning to broadcast this program at 7 p.m. every night beginning October 23rd. Links to the videos for both the Cleveland Heights portion and the University Heights portion will be available at the League's website at vote411.org and at theheightsobserver.org. So you will be able to check those out. And so now we're going to start the Cleveland Heights University Heights Board of Education portion of our program. And we have 5 candidates who are running for 3 available seats. And school board members do not receive any salary, but they do receive a stipend for each meeting that they attend. And so the candidates tonight are James Williams, Tiara Briggs, Dan Hines, Malia Lewis, and Jody Serini. And the candidates have already taken their seats, but because we're starting a new segment, I just want to remind everybody about some of the ground rules for this forum. So we've asked candidates and their supporters to refrain from wearing partisan materials in this room, such as campaign buttons. We're asking that each candidate appear in person. Nobody appear for you. No stand-ins are permitted. Each candidate is going to have 1.5 minutes for an opening statement and then 1 minute for a closing statement. They're going to have 1 minute to answer questions as well. And those times are going to be strictly enforced. We've got a timer here to let you know when you may be going over time. A timer in the front here. Only written questions will be accepted. So if you'd like to ask a question of any of our candidates, please write it down on one of the note cards that volunteers are handing out and turn it in. You can address your question to one candidate, and then other candidates will have an opportunity to answer at the moderator's discretion. And as I mentioned before, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer these questions. We'd ask the audience to refrain from expressions of support or opposition during the presentation and the question and answer time. So we've got candidates displaying their name cards, which is great. And again, please raise your hand if you'd like to receive a card for the questions. So candidates, you've got 1.5 minutes for your opening statements. And we've got an order here that we're going to begin with James Williams.
Good evening. My name is James Williams, and first of all, let me get out some shout outs to the factors, the Billy McIntyres, and all the teachers that helped me along my way of growing up in Cleveland Heights. I'm that annoying neighbor riding his bike down the street into your driveway and wanting to know you, and my parents are entry-level employees and they're tired. Since I've lived in Cleveland Heights, I've had a few friends that's been murdered, actually, that's also went to Cleveland Heights High School. And we met during certain chemistry classes, and they tore down that chemistry corridor. I'm sort of like in shock of that, amongst other things. However, in our neighborhood, we have now 15-year-olds that are dying from gun violence. We have transgenders that are dying from gun violence. We have many late night shootings. We have late night murders. We have hate crimes that are available and that are happening right now. So I just want to bring awareness to that to you right now, amongst other things that I will be talking about tonight.
Okay, thank you. Our next candidate is Jody Serini.
Good evening. Thanks for being here tonight. My name is Jody Serini. I'm a 22-year resident of University Heights, and I am a parent in the district. My son attended Garrity, he attended Boulevard, and he attended Monticello Middle School. This year, he's a 7th grader at Heights Middle Monticello. I'm the only candidate running who brings a perspective from both the east and north ends of our district. I'm running for the board because our community depends on strong schools. When you think about some of the painful situations that our community's gone through, whether it's been closings or reductions in force, it is a direct result of declining enrollment, and I believe that we can change this. I have a plan for the future, and here's what that is. The first thing I want to do is attract and retain families to our schools by marketing our district's excellent programs. I want to improve communications from the district by creating a formal communications policy that outlines guidelines for what needs to be communicated, using what mediums and when. Currently, our only communications policy covers the dissemination of flyers. I want to ensure fiscal responsibility by acknowledging that our district has limited funds, and I want to collaborate with the city governments. I've been involved in our schools for the past 8 years in a lot of different leadership positions, and I've been on many district-wide committees, including the Lake Facilities Committee. My profession for the past 25 years has been in marketing and communications, and I believe that I bring key skills that are required for attracting and retaining families to our public schools.
Okay, thank you. Our next candidate is Dan Hines.
Good evening. My name is Dan Hines, and I'm running for a seat on our Board of Education. I like to describe myself as a Heights guy. My wife and I are both lifelong residents of the Heights. We are both K-12 products of our public schools, and my son is a Heights High student today. I'm also a former small business owner here in the Heights. During most of the 90s, I owned a video store, back when people owned video stores, down in Cedar and Fairmount. Finally, I'm also a teacher. I teach 8th grade American history in Chardon, and in addition to the work that I do inside of the classroom, I'm also very involved in committees outside of the classroom. Committees related to teacher professional development, levy efforts, teacher licensure, the strategic plan, as well as the debilitating effects of charter schools and vouchers on our budget. I emphasize that my 15 years as an educator because I believe that these experiences are particularly important right now. As many of you know, we're about to lose the 3 longest serving members of our Board of Education. We currently have 44 years of combined service on the board. In January, we will have 4 years of combined service on the board. I believe in my 15 years of experience as an educator, both inside as well as outside of the classroom, has provided me with the experience and the knowledge necessary to hit the ground running and to become a member of the board at a time when experience is exactly what we need.
Thank you, that's time. Our next candidate is Molly Lewis, according to this.
Thank you, Dan. And many thanks to the League of Women Voters and Future Heights for organizing tonight's forum. Good evening. My name is Molly Lewis. I am not a lifelong resident of Cleveland Heights. My wife and I moved here nearly 13 years ago from Chicago. We made an intentional choice to move to Cleveland Heights because we wanted a welcoming and diverse community in which to raise our adopted African American children. I am also not a product of Heights schools, but we chose Cleveland Heights because of the public schools. My children started at Milligan Preschool and they are now in the 11th grade at Heights High. Public education is a cornerstone of American democracy. Although I respect the rights of families to make the best choices for their children, 90% of American children attend public school, and 100% of Americans must support public education. I believe in hard work. I am not one to sit on the sidelines and complain. For a dozen years now, when I have seen a problem, I have come up with concrete solutions, from ensuring that preschool programs kept NAEYC accreditation to writing an improvement plan for career and technical education at the high school. Lastly, I am intentional. Nothing which involves public money in our most precious resource, children, can be haphazard. Although I'm not a lifer and not a Heights grad, I am committed to our community and to our public schools. I will work to help our children every step of the way from preschool to graduation day. Thank you.
Thank you, and next we will hear from Tierra Briggs.
Hi, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and Future Heights for holding this forum tonight, and everyone for coming out tonight to hear what we have to say. My name is Tierra Briggs, and I am happy to be running for the school board. I am a Heights grad myself. I've been in the Heights community for almost 25 years. I have 2 children. One just graduated. She is in college now, freshman year, to be a music teacher. And I have a 12-year-old at Roxy Middle School. I've been involved every step of the way. I've been in PTA since my oldest 18-year-old was in Blvd. I've held various positions. I'm currently vice president of PTA at Roxborough, as well as co-president at Heights Middle School of the Local Arts Parent Organization. So I have spent the last 11 or so years, and 13, doing the grunt work within the schools to make sure that we have the best that we can have. I'm running because I feel like I can definitely help the school district move forward. I think that we need to work on equity, and I want to advocate for equity. We have people in this community whose voices are not heard, and I think that I can bring a different perspective to the board and help those voices to be heard. And that is my plan. I also want to ensure fiscal responsibility and help build trust within the community, the staff, as well as the families in the district. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to move to our question and answers, and just a reminder that you've got a minute to respond. This first question I think will go pretty quickly, so we're going to start here. Just very quickly, the question is, approximately when did you move into your current address, and are you a registered voter at that address? So 2 questions, or 2 answers. We're going to start with James Williams.
Yes. Yes, I am a registered voter, and I've been living in my residence for about a year now. Here are some statistics that I have in our community right now. It involves murders, rapes, hate crimes, arson, drunk driving, and auto thefts, which are all up in Cleveland Heights right now. Many of us that are registered voters know that we have recently upped our tax bracket from 1.5 to 2.5, therefore increasing many of these hate crimes and many of these crimes, period, in our community, which we need to address at this time.
Okay, thank you. Next we'll hear from Jody Serini.
I believe the question was how long you've been living in our address. I have lived here for 22 years, and yes, I am registered to vote at that address.
Thank you. And Dan Hines?
I have lived in Cleveland Heights all of my life in this home for 20 years, and yes, I'm registered to vote at that address.
Thank you. Malia Lewis?
I've lived at my current address for nearly 13 years, and I am registered to vote at that address.
And Tierra Briggs?
Living in Cleveland Heights for approximately 26 years. I am a registered voter, and I've lived in my current address within the city since November 1st. And I'm registered to vote at that address.
Thank you very much. The next question is addressed to all of the candidates. What, in your opinion, is the biggest obstacle or challenge to student success in our urban school district? And we're going to start this time with Jody Serini.
I believe our biggest challenge is making sure that there's plenty of programs for our children to enjoy and do and succeed at. I think that one of the other big challenges that we have is, as a community, we are penalized as an inter-room district. When you look at how funding is being stripped away from our schools, this year we are slated to lose $7.5 million to privates and charter schools due to the way that the state report card strips money out of our schools. I think that every dime, every penny needs to go to our public education because that is how we fund our schools.
Thank you. Dan Hines?
I believe that the biggest challenge to our schools is Governor Kasich and the Ohio legislature. We have a community with a long history of supporting our students, whoever they are, whatever their background, and we should take great pride in that. Unfortunately, we are operating under a system that is ruled by people who don't really care a whole lot about our kids And so they shove as much of the burden on us. They take funds from our budget and send it to their friends and their campaign donors and their projects. So nonetheless, though, we do great things with the money that our taxpayers entrust to us. We need to be good fiscal stewards to that. And I think that we should take great pride in the work that we do every day.
Thank you. Mayoral Lewis.
I believe that we have three obstacles to universal student success in our urban district. One is perception. We know that there's a big gap between the perception of what's happening in our schools and the reality of what's happening in our schools. People who are outside don't necessarily understand how good the work that's happening inside really is. And as both Julie and Dan had said, money is a huge issue, and that is a problem that starts in Columbus, unfortunately. And the third obstacle is that we do have a real achievement gap between our white students and our African American students. And the administration has been putting in place very specific programs to try to remedy that, but it will be a long and slow process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tierra Briggs.
Hi, I think one of our biggest challenges is actually one of our greatest traits as well, and that's our diversity. We do have a very diverse population, not with just ethnicity and nationality, but also with socioeconomic status. Many of us are upset about the test scores, but the test scores have proven to usually reflect the district's socioeconomic background. And we have a large population that is at or below the poverty line. And until we figure out how to build that population up, we are going to struggle. And it's difficult to cover all of the bases, but I believe it's something that can be done. There's a saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and we have to figure out a way to help our weakest link, and that's where equity comes in. And once we get that solved, I think we will really be much happier with our district. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. James Williams.
Well, the grant that I'm working on right now with myself is public education and public health. There are state reps now working on taking away our public broadcasting. With that in mind, they're also working on raising tax credit for certain communities that we're living in, making a huge gap for the parents that are in Cleveland, moving out to Cleveland Heights, that are wanting to change their children's future by putting them in a better school district and a better tax bracket. Also, there are less than half of the students now that are taking college credits at community college, Cowboy Community College, or Cleveland State University. So I would definitely like to add to that and help them with that opportunity as well.
Thank you. We have another question for all of the candidates. And this time, we're going to start with Dan Hines. What is your stance regarding the sale of the Coventry School, and what do you envision happening on that property in the future? Do you support the Coventry Peace proposal? Dan Hines.
Thank you. I was a student at Coventry Elementary School, the old Coventry Elementary School, and then moved into the new Coventry Elementary School. I grew up in that community, no longer live there, I'm now in the Canberra district. Coventry, closing Coventry Elementary School, I have repeatedly said, I think is the single biggest mistake that this district has made in my lifetime. And now we are left with, well, what do we do? I love the work that's been happening with the organizations coming together and trying to build a common vision of what the community wishes that property to be used for. So I don't have a final answer for you. I'm still sort of living in the moment and working through the process. I think the process is critically important because that's how we'll get the best outcome.
Thank you. Molly Lewis.
I was very impressed by the project proposal that was presented at Coventry a few weeks ago to create a arts center and high-density housing around the perimeter of the playground. I thought that for a first pass of the visioning, it was a really, really strong proposal. The logistics of transferring ownership of the property from A to B to C are something that will be slow and complicated, and I'm perfectly in favor of it happening. I just know that it won't happen as quickly as we would all like. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara Briggs?
Most of what I want to say actually kind of mimics what Dan and Molly said. With the sale, regarding the way there are legal rules as to what can happen to that property, and I do agree with selling it to the city rather than allowing a charter school or some other entity to come in and take it over. I was also at the Coventry proposal, and there were a lot of things I liked about it. Like Molly said, it's a very good first step in my opinion. There were some things that needed some work in my opinion, but I did like where it's going. I do like the community input. I do feel that the community is being listened to as much as possible with that location. And so hopefully it continues down that path of community input and it ends up with something that everyone is happy with.
Thank you. James Williams?
The Coventry location is a very, very time capsule community artifact that I think that it would be a burden for the school to become a landlord for another organization, and for the city it'll also be a burden because we have to take time out to figure out, well, what do we want in this space, who do we want in this space, and those are resources that we're actually spending our tax money on, trying to figure out what can go there when we can be using that for different purposes instead, like community outreach for our youth, maybe a youth center where they can go to, or basketballs or footballs or something other than that.
Thank you. And Jody Srini?
First of all, I'm very encouraged by seeing the school board working with the city government in order to transfer the property. I was very encouraged that the city was soliciting community input and making sure that what ends up being there is what the residents who live in that community really want. I would like to see the playground kept. I think that that is a real community asset and would be ashamed to see that leave. I like to see some green space because I think that that's important for a community such as University Heights and Cleveland Heights where there's not a lot of green space. And last of all, I love the idea of making it an art center.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, actually this is a couple questions that came in regarding taxes and school levies. So I'm going to combine these two questions here, and this is a question for everyone. It's my understanding that every time a school levy is passed, it never expires. So we are asked to keep adding dollars to the pile. Is my understanding correct? And if so, how do you plan to work to keep our continuous levies lasting longer? And of course, the other question has to do with levies as well, that they have become the status quo in our cities, and how do we address that? So we're going to start this time with Dan Hines.
So, my understanding is that there's two different kinds of levies. There are permanent levies and there are term levies. And so, like with anything, with everything that we vote on, you have to be careful of what you're voting on. As far as the funding goes, you know, Ohio has been struggling under a, I guess 4 times the Supreme Court has found our school funding to be unconstitutional. And so here we are. This is the formula that we have. I have to remain optimistic that you know, there will be a better formula eventually. It can't get much worse, that's for sure. But until there is a change, this is the format that we are working under. And so it is the board's obligation to be, as I've said before, careful stewards of all the money that our taxpayers entrust to us.
Thank you. Molly Lewis?
So yes, as Dan said, we have no choice about the system that is currently used to fund public education in Ohio. The fact that we are dependent on a portion of property taxes means that we're burdened by the recent decrease in property values that we all suffered. The tax levies themselves are, we add new levies in order to maintain a stable amount of income. So if you work 40 hours a week and you expect to get paid for 40 hours a week, you have a predictable amount of income. Unfortunately, with our property taxes, we have to essentially work extra hours to maintain the same amount of income. We have to add extra levies to maintain a stable budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara Briggs?
I haven't answered as far as the levies with them being, expiring, and some are temporary, some are permanent. So I will move along to, if I have ideas for alternatives to them. It's been brought out, they are right now fact of life with the way that the government has decided to fund schools. I do not agree with the way the funding is working, but it is something that we have. My hope for the school district, for the school board, if I am elected to it, is to be very creative with how we bring in money, see if there's any other money we could be bringing in, as well as what we're spending, and making sure we are not just spending, and if we know we have a downturn in the future, just assuming we're going to go after a levy. I hope that we will be more fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money and work on pushing those back as far as possible and not using them as just a fall through every time we think we need more money.
Thank you. James Williams?
I think the levies are great. I actually do, because we have to understand that the brand and the whole concept is public education and trying to excel and move our kids forward and to close the gap. My suggestion would be to allow the kids, allow the parents to allow their children the opportunity to skip grades. I've skipped grades back when I was in elementary and high school. I think it's a wonderful opportunity because it actually gives what is college preparatory. We want to know, are you able to do that? I mean, we can charge $500, $1,000 for a summer course if you just want to go a little bit further. So I think that we should definitely encourage that for our children.
Okay, that's time. Jody Serene?
As it's been mentioned, it has been ruled unconstitutional the way Ohio funds its schools. I think as a school board, we need to be banding with other school boards and with the Ohio School Boards Association to put pressure on Columbus to ensure that we have a new model for funding. And beyond that, I do agree that when it comes to levies, we need to find ways that we can be serving our schools and our students very cost effectively. And as part of my plan, I would like to see us reach out into other government agencies and other organizations. I used the example of recently where I work, we had a United Way agency fair, and there's a lot of good organizations in our community. I think we need to do a better job of leveraging those and making sure that we help use those to bring programs cost effectively to our students for the safety and well-being and educational resources.
Okay, thank you. And we've got a lot more questions, but we don't have as much time. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to answer these questions tonight, but I will circulate these so that you can answer them later. And I'd like to move into closing statements now. Each candidate has 1 minute for a closing statement, and we're going to go backwards this time. We're going to start with Tara Briggs.
Thank you. When it comes to this district, I am involved, invested, and informed. I know my background varies from what many may come to expect from a Board of Education member, and that may worry some people, but I believe it should be more worrisome that our board generally looks the same, but our community does not. A good friend recently posted a quote by Loretta Ross that said, "Leadership is about showing your scars so you can show others that they can do this work with all their imperfections." Throughout this campaign, I've told a lot of stories about myself, about my background, being a single mother, the struggles I've gone through. And most of that is just to help others see that they can do this job and give an example of what is within our community. We are very different, and I think the board needs to reflect that. I'm not asking you to elect me just because I'm different or a single mother or because I'm from a different socioeconomic background, but because I'm driven, I'm determined, and I've proven myself in this district with the work that I've done over the last 13 years. So thank you, and hopefully vote for me November 7th.
Thank you. Thank you. Molly Lewis?
If elected, I will work to improve equity of opportunity and of support across the district. We must address the achievement gap between African American and white students and between students from low-income families and those from middle-class families. That starts with preschool. High-quality preschool provides all children with a common foundation for success in elementary school. And, added bonus, it attracts new families to the district. With our facilities project in full swing, we must examine our building grade configurations so that all students receive adequate support to meet our high expectations. At the high school level, we must continue to encourage students to stretch, whether that be in AP, college credit plus, or career tech classes. And we must ensure students receive the help they need to succeed in these rigorous courses. If we measure success by our district's ability to meet each child's individual needs, then every family will see public school as a sound option for their children. Please vote for Molly Lewis on November 7th. Thank you.
Dan Hines.
I'd like to begin by saying thank you to the League of Women Voters and Future Heights. And as always, thank you to Malia, Tiara, and Jody, who have taken this long trip and made this such an optimistic and enthusiastic and energetic experience. The days ahead are going to be good days for our schools. If I can ask you to remember three things about me, they'll be these. I'm a Heights guy. I grew up here. I'm here for good. You're stuck with me. I'm a former business owner here in the community, and I'm a teacher with 15 years of experience in the classroom and at the district level. And this is a time when I believe that that preparation is important to help fill the shoes that are being left by three outstanding board members with a great deal of service experience who I'm very grateful for. My name is Dan Hines, and I ask for your vote on November 7th.
Thank you. Jody Serini.
I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and Future Heights for hosting us. Once again, my name is Jody Serini, and as a member of the Board of Education, I'd like to be part of the team that will communicate the value of public education, attract and retain families to our district and our communities, and align community resources and organizations to provide programs for the education, safety, and well-being of our children. I hope you agree that these are important, and I hope that you'll vote for me on November 7th, or in early balloting, which actually opened last week. So if you haven't requested your early ballot, please do so, and I hope that you will vote for Jody Serini. So thank you for your time, and please stay for the rest of the candidates tonight. We're all working very hard out there.
Thank you. James Williams.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, Future Heights. Again, I wanted to come to this forum because I've never seen anyone like me or anyone represented, and I wanted to be that person to say, you know, hey, there's a market out there. There's a market somewhere out there that needs to be represented, and here I am. I have so many thoughts and so many plans and so many ideas that again, I'm only one stone, and that can cast a few ripples. You know, so we need to all come together in some accordance. I want to be able to inherit something great. I mean, what is it? I mean, don't we all want to inherit something great? So I think that that's where we should start first at, and especially giving parents enough time with the world ever changing, enough time to educate their children at home.
Thank you all. And that concludes our school board portion of tonight's program. The next segment of our program is Municipal Judge. So if I can have those candidates come up to the front, and we'll get everything organized here.
These candidates are elected for a 6-year term, and the salary for this position is $63,250 per year. So our 3 candidates are, and they are sitting in order, are Nadine Hayden, James Costello, and D'Angelo Little. So I just want to remind everybody too that we have a rule of not wearing partisan material inside this room. So if you've got a campaign button, please take it off or bring it outside. So I want to remind you about that. Candidates are each going to have a minute and a half for their opening statement and then a minute for their closing statements. And again, only written questions are being accepted, so if you've got a question, please write it down and pass it in so that we can hopefully get all of the questions answered. One other thing that I want to bring up with this segment is that this is a little bit different in that because they are judges, you are not permitted to ask them about current cases. Certainly, you can ask them about legal issues such as bail reform or any other legal issue, but not about current cases. So with that, we've got everybody in place, and we're going to start with opening statements, and our first candidate is Nadine Hayden.
Thank you, Tina. Good evening, and thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is Nadine Hayden, and I'm very honored to be the Plain Dealers endorsed candidate for Cleveland Heights Municipal Court Judge. I'm a litigation lawyer, a hockey mom, and a proud Cleveland Heights resident. I currently practice in criminal and civil defense. Working at a criminal defense firm, but also managing their civil practice. Prior to my current position, I worked for Judge Nancy First in the Common Pleas Court. I was her staff attorney, assisting her in managing and mediating cases and making legal decisions, and also presided over hundreds of hearings on her behalf. I've worked with and for some of the best attorneys and judges in the county, and I know that my strong legal background, work ethic, and people skills will serve the Cleveland Heights community well. And I talk about people skills because municipal court judges have an enormous amount of individual interaction with the public and an enormous amount of authority over those people. So the ability to understand and interact with people is very important. I want to make the court more efficient and transparent and committed to seeking funding through the Supreme Court of Ohio's technology grants. Having up-to-date case information is important not just for convenience but for transparency to make sure that people are being treated fairly across the board. I'm committed to restructuring the way our housing court is run, committing more resources and personnel to making sure that we are holding absentee landlords accountable, but also treating individual homeowners fairly, because fines and fees for individual homeowners do not make our community look better. I believe that my positive change for Cleveland Heights. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Our next candidate is James Costello.
Thank you, the league. Thank you, the league, Future Heights, and all of you for being here. My name is James Costello, and I'm running for municipal court judge. I grew up in Cleveland Heights. I met my wife on the playground at Roxborough in first grade, and now our oldest son is there in first grade as well. I've been active in this community for a long time, on boards like the Cleveland Heights Civil Service Commission, and I've graduated from the Cleveland Heights Citizens Police Academy. For the last 2 years, I've sat on the bench as an acting judge here at Cleveland Heights Municipal Court, hearing and deciding in cases, criminal, traffic, civil, and housing dockets when Judge Buchanan is not available. So I'm the only one in this race with actual experience on the bench here in Cleveland Heights. I understand what it takes, and I'm prepared to be your judge. Over the last 12 years as an attorney, I've had extensive experience in municipal courts, handling all the types of cases that come before that court. Would you be hard-pressed to find an attorney who's handled as many cases in as many different municipal courts as I have? As judge, I promise to be fair and impartial. I believe that offenders need to be punished, but they also need to be given the tools necessary to change their path. The safety and well-being of the city is critical for me. I will focus on improving the efficiency and accountability of our court. I will focus on our housing docket, providing avenues to you and your neighbors who wish to improve your homes, and punishing those like absentee landlords and banks who refuse to take care of their properties. I care deeply for this city, and that is why I, James Costello, am running for municipal court judge, and that's why I'm humbly asking for your vote on November 7th.
Thank you. And our next candidate is D'Angelo Little.
Good evening, everyone. My name is D'Angelo Little, and I am running to be the next judge of Cleveland Heights Municipal Court. I have lived in the greater Cleveland area the majority of my life, and I have the distinct pleasure to call Cleveland Heights my home and to raise my family in such a rich and diverse community. I truly believe that the people of Cleveland Heights will be well served with a judge that has the extensive and diverse background that I possess. I am the only candidate in this judicial race that has served in every legal capacity in the court. I'm a former chief city prosecutor. I'm a former county prosecutor. I am a current criminal defense attorney for my own practice, as well as the municipal court magistrate for over 6 years. I can tell you that during the time I have been a magistrate, I have handled and presided over and decided 15,000 cases. 15,000 cases, housing cases, the eviction docket I preside over, small claims proceedings I preside over, as well as the traffic trial, as well as the criminal cases I handle as well. Experience matters when you're talking about electing the next judge, because you will be deciding important issues in people's lives, everyday people lives. And it's important that the next judge understands all the issues that come before the court, not just a select number of issues, but every capacity in the court has to be represented to dispense justice firmly and fairly. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to start with the question and answer period. And just a reminder that you've got 1 minute to answer these questions. This first question is for all of the candidates. What are some of the common types of cases heard in Cleveland Heights? Misdemeanors versus felonies, and their impact, the impact of sentencing guidelines. And we're going to start with number 1 with Nadine Hayden.
Thank you. So our municipal court handles civil and criminal cases. On the criminal side, we handle misdemeanor cases. And so anything above a misdemeanor or felony, even if it occurred in Cleveland Heights, would be sent to the county court unless it's brought down to a lower charge. On the civil side, we handle traffic cases, which are actually considered criminal, but for a lot of us, we don't think that we're criminals if we get a traffic ticket. We handle housing cases, small claims, civil cases under a certain amount, and did I say housing? Housing cases? It's like the 7 dwarfs. So the municipal court handles a variety of cases, and you need someone who has the experience that understands criminal and civil law, which is my practice, civil and criminal. I don't know if anyone else wants to talk about what else the court handles.
Thank you, and James Costello.
Thank you. I do think she hit pretty much everything that was said. I keep forgetting, I'm sorry. I've done this before. So that is pretty much everything that gets handled. Just to be clear, the felonies, potentially if someone is arrested for an alleged felony, that would start in the Cleveland Heights Municipal Court. At that point, the judge would be responsible for giving that defendant their initial rights, explaining some things to that defendant, and setting an initial bond. That's something that I've done when I've sat on the bench here in Cleveland Heights. The case then would eventually get down most likely to the common police court. Just to clarify a couple of other things that do not get heard in that court, there are no juvenile cases that get heard in the municipal court. That's something that is often a misnomer. People just assume that if a juvenile is arrested, that it comes to the municipal court. That's in fact not correct. Any juvenile that's been charged with either a traffic offense or what would be a criminal offense as an adult, all go to the juvenile court, common police section of the juvenile court.
Thank you, and D'Angelo Little.
Okay, I think pretty much everyone has said what the municipal court handles. Civil cases, which I preside over for the past 6 years, the housing docket, the small claims docket, the tax liability docket, I preside over as well. Small claims and general civil litigation docket, I have numerous trials and as the magistrate in the local community. Municipal courts also handle criminal cases. The most prevalent cases that a judge will hear most likely will be OBI offenses, as well as domestic violence cases, assault cases, and petty drug cases and theft cases as well. Oftentimes, as cases are often heard by judge felony cases as well, but that's just the initial appearance where the prosecutor has the burden of proof to prove that the case should be bound over to the court of common pleas for issuance of a grand jury indictment.
Thank you. Our next question. If you could, what would you do about absentee slumlords who are bringing down property values of those around their buildings? And we're going to start with James Costello.
So I can tell you first that I've had extensive experience handling housing violation cases in the municipal court courts throughout Northeast Ohio, and I've argued cases before the appellate courts. You'd be hard pressed to find an attorney who's handled as many of those types of cases in as many different courts. What I've seen is judges who handle those cases poorly, and judges like the late Judge Pianco who handle them very well. I would bring those best practices to the court. The first thing you have to do is to deal with those types of cases is to quite simply move them through the court efficiently, not let them linger. The next thing is to use the court's power to track down and force defendants to show up in the housing docket. These types of cases, oftentimes the defendants aren't willing to show up, and you got to force them to get there. The final thing I would point out is that I would require landlords to comply with our local ordinances, including the city's rental registry, if they wanted to come before my court.
Okay, thank you. D'Angelo Bill.
I have extensive experience with dealing with absentee landlords as being a magistrate in a neighboring community. I've had several cases where property owners will purchase property from out of state. I've had a couple from California as well as Las Vegas, Nevada. And you have to, and they actually purchased the properties online. And they thought that the property was in good condition, which it proved to be in dilapidated poor condition. So we had to use the court subpoena power to bring the persons into court to deal with the issues. And oftentimes, some people just don't know, especially in that case anyway, they didn't understand or didn't know the quality of the home that they were purchasing, which is their responsibility as landlords. So we got them into court and we dealt with them and they came to compliance.
Okay, thank you. Our next question also is for all of the candidates. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for... It always happens to you. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. Nadine Hayden, please respond to that question.
So this is, I really want to answer this question because I know it's a concern for our community and it comes up in so many of these events that we've done. And I think it's important to actually answer the question, what can we do? What can we do? So we have to be creative with these absentee landlords. And there are things that other courts are doing that have been successful. Shaker Heights is one of them, Lakewood is one of them. And those are similar to communities to ours, not the same. But one thing you can do is actually, if these landlords have residents in their properties, you can have the tenants, and this has not been overturned by any court, you can have the tenants pay rent to the court so that that rent is being utilized to cover any obligation that needs to be met. The other idea is to fine them, which we don't want to fine citizens when we really just want them to comply. We want them to fix their fence, fix their grass, do their yard. But when it comes to a company, you have the ability to give them bigger fines on a daily basis that can add up quite a bit and force the landlord to comply and to show up. So I think with my time, that's about all I can say, but we have to be diligent. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So for our next question, what would you do to make the court and your performance as judge more visible to the community on the court website and elsewhere? I'm going to start with D'Angelo Little.
As far as visibility, that's something that I have prided myself on my entire life. I work with the youth on a weekly basis in Cleveland schools as well as East Cleveland Public Schools. Every Friday I go to the schools to talk to the youth about civic responsibility and obeying the laws of the community, staying out of trouble, staying out of the legal system, and just making positive decisions and overall character development. And this is something that I know is needed also in Cleveland Heights, University Heights School District, and it's my passion to bring the same programming that I've done for the past 7 years into the local school district here as well. As far as the website, I think the website could be improved by adding detailed information concerning case docket. Oftentimes you can't determine from just reading on the website what the particulars of a case has been. So I would definitely make sure that the clerk of court staff add that information. Thank you.
And our next candidate is Nadine Hayden.
Thank you. So talking about our website is a technology issue, and something I came across when I decided to run for this position. I did some research about the court, so I had some tangible ideas of what was going on the fiscal side, and I found that the Supreme Court of Ohio gives away funding every year to lower courts to apply for technology grants, computers, software, things of that nature. Our courts actually never apply for that funding. And so something that I'd like to do is apply for that funding so we can have our court, number one, operating at a higher level, but also update our website so you can see your case information, so you know when your court dates are, so you can understand what's happening with your case in a very up-to-date manner. As far as visibility, I think that helps with transparency, but you know, I hope to be a judge that you don't remember my name just once every 6 years, and really be a part of the community, be a resource for the community. Thank you.
James Costello.
Thank you. So I've always been visible in this community. Over a decade ago, I started serving on the Cable Television Commission. I've always been active in this community. I certainly will continue to be active, whether you elect me or not. I hope that I can be elected judge and continue that role as an active member of this community on the bench. What I will tell you is that as an attorney, I'm in the Cleveland Heights Municipal Court almost on a weekly basis. And so I've seen some of the issues that they have with technology, both the website and the clerk. Also as an acting judge, I've seen some of the issues with the technology. Some of the technology is quite frankly outdated. It does in fact need to be improved. Having that experience on the court and on the bench, I know the things that need to be changed and need to be improved. It's an incremental process. There's funding available both from Columbus and elsewhere, so that it's not an extra tax burden on the citizens. It's important to make those improvements to provide better justice to everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have little time left, so I'm going to ask a question of each of the judges, and you can either, and so you can answer one question, and then we'll have a different question for the next judge. So first question is for Nadine Hayden. When is it best to use diversion and mediation programs?
So those diversion and mediation are best early on. And actually one of the things that I want to do, you know, it's a case by case, you can't, they apply, diversion and mediation can apply to so many different cases, but one thing what we need to do is actually have an alternative dispute resolution department in our court. So that cases, when they're filed, and this will especially apply to civil cases, instead of waiting a year before we decide, hey, we can settle this, which most cases do settle, they do not go to trial. Instead of doing that, you have a department who's devoted to mediating cases from the beginning so that individuals are not wasting a lot of money on attorney's fees, taking a lot of time off of work to litigate their cases. Diversion is the same thing. You look at, on the criminal side, you have to look at someone's prior history, what they've done in the past, what you know, their socioeconomic background, and what will really help them reduce recidivism, reduce the repeat offense. If a program is more likely to prevent them from repeat offense, I'm out of time. Thank you.
Okay, and our next question, this one's for James Costello. Could you please speak about your thoughts on bail reform?
Sure. So I can tell you, again, as an attorney who's a defense attorney who had tried to get bail set for my client, also as an acting judge having to actually set bail for individuals, I recognize some of the problems with the bail system. There's no question that there are problems in our bail system, and it's been well reported. Right now, the factors that a judge uses oftentimes to set bail, they have incomplete information. They're relying on incomplete, sometimes not open police reports, and their staff to provide them information and limited information from the criminal reports. And then asking basic questions like, where do you live? How long have you lived there? All of these things, it turns out, are not necessarily indicators of whether or not someone's going to show back up or commit a crime. And those are the things that are important. So it's the new analytic type approach that gives a judge an extra tool that I think is important to implement in the Heights, and I would do that as a judge.
Thank you. Next question is for D'Angelo Little. Given that you are not a homeowner and only moved into the county less than 2 years ago, what qualities do you possess that your opponents lack?
I will say that, no, I've not lived in Cleveland Heights all my life, like others may have, but this is just my community just as much as anybody else's. I can tell you that I'm raising my family here. I'm doing the best I can, and I have specific character traits that will cause me to be a great judge in this community. I care about people. It's my life's goal to see the best in other people. As a judge, of course, you dispense justice with firmness and fairness, but I'm going to take the extra step. I'm going to inspire my community, I'm going to uplift my community, and I'm going to empower my community with different programs that I know will best serve the community well, such as different diversion programs that I've already implemented, different mental health programs that I want to create in the court. I can tell you that 18 years from now, you won't be able to say that he's only been here 2 years. You'll be able to say he's been here 20 years.
And now we're going to move to closing statements, and you have a minute for your closing statement. We're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to start with D'Angelo Little.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here this evening. I can tell you that a judge, when you go for a judge, the most important qualification is experience, because you're going to be presiding over cases, not just from residents of Cleveland Heights. And this is where running for judge or being elected judge is different than city council races or school board races, where your only impact is to the residents of your local community. As a judge, you will preside over cases from everyone, from different backgrounds, different communities that happen to pass through Cleveland Heights. You're going to have people come from East Cleveland, you're going to have people come from Euclid, South Euclid, University, Shaker. And it's important that you have a wide range of experience and understanding of people from various backgrounds and various cultures and various locations. And to dispense justice equally and firmly and fairly, you have to understand the plight of all different people from different locations. And I have that experience and diversity. Thank you.
And next we'll hear from James Costello.
Thank you. So I hope I was able to provide you some insight into my experience as an attorney and as an active judge. I would encourage you to check out my website. I would also encourage you to check out Judge for Yourself, where I was given the preferred rating by the Cuyahoga Criminal Defense Lawyers Association. I've been endorsed by the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party, Cleveland Heights Democrats, every member of City Council, and numerous citizens, business owners, and leaders in this community. I received those endorsements from those people because I didn't just show up to run for judge. I've always been a passionate advocate for this city, and I always will be. Ultimately, though, it's up to all of you in this audience, and that's why I thank you for being here. I hope that you consider all of us, and I thank the other two candidates for being here this evening, but I hope that you, when the time comes on November 7th, you will elect James Costello for judge. And I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nadine Hayden.
Thank you again, everyone, for being here. I think, we're also eager to show you what our legal background is and that we have the legal qualifications to be a judge. But I think, hopefully, you've seen that I have real solutions for our community. And I've worked really hard to make sure that the next judge has real answers and moves our court with society. I don't know everything. And that's important. You want a judge who knows when to ask questions and when to ask what to do. And that's you have staff, there's the law. You need to rely on the law, you have to do legal research. You can't enter into any position thinking you know it all. But I know that I am committed to finding the answers when I don't know them. I'm a hard worker, I love this community. I'm not a politician, I'm a lawyer who really wants to be a good judge. I'm not doing this because I don't like my job, I need a new job. I'm doing this because I really think that my skill set will serve our community well, and I will be a resource for the community. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all for being here tonight. That concludes our municipal judge portion of the program. I just want to correct one statement I made earlier. The salary for this position is actually $123,000. The $63,250 that is printed in the voter's guide is paid for by local funds, and the rest is paid for by the Supreme Court of Ohio. So I just wanted to make that correction. Thank you all again.